What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the 2015 EP by Blood on the Dance Floor. Basically, this project is called Cruel Pornography, and it came out in the summer of 2015. So the thing about this particular project is originally I thought that this was more of like a lengthier EP. Originally I thought that this was going to be like 8, 9, or 10 songs, some pitches like that. I do want to say that there's a lengthier version that has like some instrumentals on here. I'm not going to count those songs just because they're just instrumentals as far as that kind of goes. I bet they're good ones, but I just would have to say this particular album, this particular EP is yet another classic from Blood on the Dance Floor within that same pitch. Back in January, I reviewed Bitchcraft, which I gave a pretty high score, and then before that, I reviewed albums like Evolution and Bad Blood, some of those type pitches. Most of these albums I've given a pretty sheer type score, and this one's no exception. I'd have to say this is definitely a pretty class act of an album. This is definitely a pretty class act of an album. I'd have to say it's just an excellent type fare. Just has a lot of good pizzazz about it. Basically, it takes some of the creeping kind of industrial typeness. Basically, Cruel Pornography just has some creeping kind of industrial typeness, just like Marilyn Manson or Mr. Strange, some of those type folks with just a lot more of like a more dredgy and just kind of more gnarled type atmosphere about it, with some of like the spookish and kind of more his ghoulish type fares of like Bitchcraft as far as that particular pitch kind of goes. Just the concept of it with a little bit of electronic in there from like Bad Blood, I'd have to say, in pitches like that. And I said it's pretty much the amalgamation sort of what this project kind of particularly reminds me of, I'd have to say. It's some excellent type stuff. I didn't realize there were 2 singles off this particular project, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about these. So basically, out of 6 songs, there's 5 songs in this particular EP. One is an intro, which is sexually explicit, which is another song I recommend. So I recommend all 6 songs on this EP. So this EP is going to get a 10 out of 10. But there were 2 singles off this particular EP. I'd have to say Blood on the Dance Floor is kind of low key with their singles as far as that pitch goes. The information about this project is pretty minimal, but I was able to still find that there were 2 singles, one of which was Filthy Animals, the other which was Battle Cry. So basically, to talk about Filthy Animals, this one's like a turned up kind of pop rock gem, I'd have to say. Filthy Animals is like a turned up kind of pop rock gem, I'd have to say in particular. This one reminds me of like the DVD warning copyright music that you would get when putting in like a DVD into like a PlayStation or some pitches like that, or a DVD player from like the 2000s type era. I'd have to say in particular. There's some good concepts for that a typical kind of hangout type music that's just like some great hangout pizzazz of a song. I'd say it's a pretty nice one. This is one. There is some there is some kind of pop rock on here. It's more electronica sound, but it's basically electronic rock as far as the pitching goes. There's definitely some guitars cranked on here, and it works well for Javon's kind of shrieking vocals on here. And Davi shrieks a few times, especially on songs like The Sexorcist. That's a pretty good concept. We get that one in particular as far as that kind of goes. It's some excellent type stuff. So it is electronic, but it's just more in like a more industrial type sound. It's kind of like a blend of like Marilyn Manson and then something like like some like an electronic type band like Cobra Starship, or even Blood on the Dance Floor pitches like that. It's something electronic with something industrial. So I do like this particular song. This is a new blend for Blood on the Dance Floor that works pretty well. And then Battle Cry was a pretty nice one too. This is another brewing type one. This one's not as crazy. I figured that they would have picked a song like The Sexorcist or Cruel Pornography, the title track, as far as some of the singles, as far as that pitch, but they chose the promotion of this particular project chose more like brewing and more low key type numbers, which is still pretty dope. But I just look at the concept. Blood on the Dance Floor was always kind of low key in the first place, so it's just the concept that these songs were just off the wayside, more hot topic type music and pitches like that. But yeah, Battle Cry is like a brewing kind of wild trance hitter of a song. I'd have to say in particular, it's a good trance song. Definitely like the concept of that. It's like a good lighter companion to The Sexorcist. I'd have to say in particular, and this song maintains like the thrilling vibes that the rest of this album kind of has. So it's just a good pitch. Really like the brewing type pit. Really like the brewing type feel of this particular one. It's just kind of a bubbler. Just works pretty damn well. I just would have to say is this kind of one to just kind of chill out to. Just have a little bit of just mild dance music as far as that pitch kind of goes along with it. Just some excellent type stuff is what I'd say. The energy might be like a 7, 7.5 pitches like that, but the chorus is pretty gnarled. I'd have to say the same thing with Filthy Animals. I'd have to say just some good pitches kind of get some of those. But basically, yeah, there's crazier songs on this particular project. I would say Bitchcraft is pretty crazier than this project too, but I do like the industrial type blend of this particular project. This has some real excellent type stuff here. So yeah, I recommend every song on this particular EP just to say about that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about Sexually Explicit. This is a real nice intro. I like the concept of this one, just a real nice kind of atmosphere about it, just would have to say in particular. This one's like a creeping, kind of nice, late shift kind of clamor of a song. I'd have to say in particular some good stuff to kind of get here. And this is like an industrial kind of murkiness that this song particularly kind of has. And it's just a good hangout kind of snaz to kind of get. Is getting some drinks out of the fridge, just basic concepts, just typical kind of hangout candor as far as that kind of goes. Just some good stuff to kind of get. This basic kind of bubbling type music, just in the late shift type fare, just 10 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning pitches like that. Just after hours getting pizza pitches like that. I'd say some good concepts. This would have to suppose. The Sexorcist is a real nice one. This is a pretty good concept one. This is definitely one of the most gnarled songs on here. This is typical for Blood on the Dance Floor in their normal fashion. Not to say that, I mean, this is just one where the turn up is pretty high. So this is like a gnarled kind of rock heavy rave hit. I'd have to say in particular, the energy is pitched real high. Like I was saying, this is just an easy Kickstarter to get crunk to. I'd have to say this is a pretty nice one. Originally, I thought that this was the single just because I was kind of questioning about it. I just would have to suppose, but it's a pretty good concept for this. Just the energy. This is just more typical in like the bitchcraft type fashion pitches like that. It has just some real excellent type stuff to kind of get here. Now I do appreciate the singles of this particular album. So it's definitely great that BOTDF has some carnivorous type numbers on here. I'd have to say in particular just the real shred type energy of some of these just works extremely well. These are some rock type ones, some kind of pop rap or like some rap rock kind of electronic industrial type stuff to kind of get here. But another one that's just like that is Cruel Pornography. This is a real great hangout type one that goes along with Filthy Animals. I definitely would have to suppose. Pretty good pitch to kind of get this one. It's like a snazzy kind of electric dance gem. I'd have to say in particular. This has a nice bridge on there. Probably one of the best bridges on the project. I'd have to say in particular. And by bridge, I mean like the vocals leading up to the chorus. Just some concepts like that. This has an exciting hook. I would definitely have to say, and this is just like a nice groovy kind of midnight appeal this song particularly kind of has. Cruel Pornography is another nice sing-songy type one that probably could have been a single. Just would have to say in particular, just kind of the concept about it. I kind of feel like a lot of these do have some commercial type appeal. I think Blood on the Dance Floor by this point probably realized that their charting days were kind of somewhat hodgepodge. Not to say that they wouldn't have ever happened, but just kind of the concept they just were more in the underground type fashion. I mean, they really do have some commercial bite on here. It's just kind of the concept that for some reason they continue to be ignored, probably just because of the controversy. But I just would have to say, I mean, apart from that, they really had some of these particular type sounds fleshed out quite a bit. I'd have to suppose. I really feel like there's at least 3 good singles off this particular project. Battle Cry, Cruel Pornography probably could have been a single, and Filthy Animals was a good one. So Battle Cry and Filthy Animals were some good. Battle Cry and Filthy Animals were some good ones, and Cruel Pornography probably could have been a nice one as well. Just what I'd say. But another one that probably might have been a single. This one's a little bit more sluggish and morose, but I still like this one quite a bit. Is Live to Die. This one's like a morose and kind of sullen pop rap haze of a song. I'd have to say. This one reminds me of like the Bitchcraft days, but a more kind of gloomed kind of ballad. This is more of like a gloomed kind of ballad. I'd have to say in particular. This is a pretty dope song. So I do appreciate this one. This one kind of reminds me of like that song Something Grim from Bad Blood. I'd have to say in particular. There's some of that same kind of typical kind of emo type music that just works pretty well. In particular, just a rather moody type one that just has that sort of appeal. So it's good that Blood on the Dance Floor still has some of that emo type pitch to kind of have. I mean, a lot of these are pretty electronica and hot topic type music to begin with. But this is definitely one of the moody type ones, similar to like similar to Incomplete and All Alone and Something Grim and some of those type ones, just some of the more moody type pitches as far as that kind of goes. But that's just a nice one. So yeah, this EP gets a 10 out of 10. I would have to say definitely appreciate this particular project. Social score is probably going to get, I'm kind of torn about what I'm going to give the social score of this particular project. I think I'm going to go ahead and give it like a 10 out of 10 because the quality of these songs is pretty sheer, and I just feel like the casual appeal, a lot of these are just there. They're just pretty, and these songs are just pulled off pretty damn well. I'd have to say in particular, just the social fare of these, the casual appeal of these particular songs is pretty high. Just would have to say the electronica type fare, the industrial type sound just works extremely well. There's some good pitches. You got a good morose ballad on here. You got some good industrial kind of rave hits. You got some brewing type numbers that just work pretty well. Pitches like that. Just some good club rumblers and those sorts of pitches that just have a lot of good extent. And the intro is pretty awesome as well. Just a nice hangout type one to kind of get. So there's plenty of good ones just to kind of have in motion. It's like a real bite-sized kind of just burst of just great energy just to kind of get with like some sheer aspects just to have for like a thrilling type time, I'd have to say. I really think that they should have expanded upon this particular sound and done it more. I don't know what the Scissors project is like from 2016, but I would have to say in particular this is definitely a pretty good burst, and this is an inspired project here. I just think that this random sound that they kind of did is different from Bitchcraft, it's different from Bad Blood, it's different from Evolution, it's different from All the Rage, some of those type ones, but this works pretty damn well, and the casual appeal is pretty high about this. I just feel like the only reason why I was about to give it like a 9.75 or a 9.5, something like this, is because of the concept. I just question like the casual appeal of some of these. I mean, it's definitely it has the quality, and it's definitely very thrilling. It's just kind of the concept. It's just off the wayside, and you just question, or like folks who don't know about them, just the immediate kind of aspect as to what would go along with it. But I think for the most part, there's not much of a learning curve. This is pretty affable and universal and like its affability, I'd say. So I don't think there's much of a learning curve. So I'm gonna give the social score like a 10 out of 10. But in terms of the future, like Blood on the Dance Floor is broken up. The last album came out in 2019, but Davi Vanity still puts out projects on the Most Vivid Nightmares. He has a YouTube where he updates and stuff like that. So there's plenty of good projects. He does have a website also where you can buy some of these albums that are not available as much, and especially in CD format, I'd have to say. So it's some good concepts kind of get just within that aspect. So there are some more Blood on the Dance Floor albums I'm going to get to. This is kind of a miniature classic, and I do appreciate it quite a bit. This is definitely some excellent type stuff here, and it's pretty easy to recommend, I'd have to say.